bottom line. Joe Biden is leaving Donald Trump a very strong economy. Donald Trump promised to bring down, and I quote, the price of bacon, the price of eggs, and the price of apples. I can't wait to watch those promises. And on January 20th, that clock starts. Those are commitments that he made.
Well, we are back on the Piers Morgan Uncensored Show, and we have his guests are Dave Rubin and a couple of leftist liberal types, anti-Trumpers, of course, and they're talking about a couple different things. They're talking about, as you heard, Donald Trump, what's he going to do once he gets into office, because Joe Biden left him a great economy, apparently, and also about Pete Hegseth's Senate confirmation hearing for the position of Secretary of Defense. So let's get into it. Let's see what Piers Morgan has to say.
And coming at a time when you see people like Mark Zuckerberg, who were leading the kind of charge of DEI and liberal woke policy, now doing these screeching U-turns, recognizing that actually it wasn't right, it wasn't fair, it wasn't equitable. It effectively has collectively encouraged mediocrity over meritocracy and so on. And I thought he was effective on that, Pete Hegseth.
Oh, I thought he was quite effective because he is a TV presenter and knows how to communicate ideas effectively. He has been well-versed in interviewing people and discussing this and talking to people inside the military and inside of all of our institutions and corporations that have been wrecked and ransacked by DEI. The idea of America is based on individual rights. We do not care about your sexuality or your gender or your skin color or any of those other immutable traits. What we care about is, especially in the military, which we all, regardless, I think, of political allegiance, would like to be effective and be able to protect Americans and American interests. We want people who are competent, who are physically fit and mentally fit to do these jobs. We can all, I mean, there's a million examples I can give you here, Piers, but we only need look at what's going on with the California fires right now and the amount of time that the fire department and the administration and Gavin Newsom and the mayor and LA and California as a whole spent on diversity in the fire department rather than figuring out ways to go about combating fire properly and preventing these things. And that's the exact same thing that the military is going through. It's, by the way, exactly what Mark Zuckerberg was going through at Facebook, where he was dealing with an insurrection of his own employees who were woke and trying to silence everybody and the rest of it. So all of these things are deeply connected. And I would say, if we're going to save America, which I think we're 5 days away from turning around a lot of this nonsense, these hearings are a great example of seeing how the ideas of equity are actually completely antithetical to everything that this country was founded upon.
Well, I can't agree more with that. And if Pete Hegseth is bringing these ideas up during his confirmation hearings, then so much the better. I agree with that 100%, what Dave Rubin just said there. Obviously, affirmative action, DEI, all that stuff has greatly eroded competency across the board in all sorts of organizations, including, of course, the military, which will be Pete Hegseth's purview. But in all sorts, in schools, in education, both for children and at universities, just across the board. Probably in politics too, but politicians are notorious scumbags anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Perhaps it matters less in that particular. In some ways, it matters less there, but it's still important. But just everywhere, the whole thing, the whole idea of all that is just very corrosive, incredibly corrosive. Let's get back into it, see what they're talking about now.
I've read some deluded claptrap in my time, but Biden's self-appraisal of basically how he saved America and the world is pretty priceless. And I watched his stuff he said on television the other night as well. The guy seems to be tripping towards retirement in an utterly deluded manner about his presidency, doesn't he? Dave, that's for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear who the question was for. Well, look, this is the obvious end to an utterly embarrassing pandering, and I would say, frankly, almost illegal presidency. The man has been cognitively impaired. We all knew it, or most of us knew it. I was doing videos on this back in 2019. The idea that he's been in charge of this administration is a complete sham. He can't speak off the cuff, obviously. He can barely read off the prompter. We're just watching the end of something that, look, they cooed him over the summer, right? He wanted to run. We know Jill wanted him to run. Kamala Harris and Barack Obama and whatever party leaders, they threatened him with the 25th Amendment. This entire thing has been one sham after the other. And I think, after we have 5 more days of this, we're going to probably see Joe Biden about 3 more times. And then there will suddenly be a letter released, and it will say that he has been dealing with these cognitive issues. They knew it. Blah, blah, blah. And then it will leak out. Over the course of the next year, there will be plenty more to leak out, but he has not been in charge. It is a miracle we got through these 4 years, and we're going to have to deal with a lot of the fallout that he put in. But I'm very bullish, obviously, on Trump and this administration and the people he's bringing in, including Pete Hegseth. And I think we're going to see a lot of positive change very quickly, and it couldn't come too soon.
Yeah, I mean, Julie, I've heard Democrats trying to defend Joe Biden. They're sort of running out of energy for it. I think everyone kind of knows now that this is an old guy, probably suffering from a form of dementia, who's just stammering and stuttering and falling his way through to the end of what has turned out to be a pretty poor presidency, isn't it?
Have you listened to Donald Trump? I mean, I'm listening to this and I'm kind of in shock. And
Oh, I had to stop there. So he asks about, Piers Morgan says, but Biden's presidency has been pretty lackluster, pretty poor, right? And all she can do is say, have you heard what Donald Trump has said? Yeah, leftists on the internet, go on any Reddit, on any subreddit, and any political subreddit, and they're always saying, well, that's just whataboutism. I ask about Joe Biden, and you mentioned what about Donald Trump? Yeah, exactly. Just exactly. Whataboutism. Yeah, we're not talking about Donald Trump, lady. We're talking about Joe Biden. But let's see what she has to say about Trump.
listen to what comes out of Donald Trump's mouth, who, by the way, is an insurrectionist.
Well,
And all of a sudden you're talking about how he's qualified, he's gonna bring
well,
half of
it's
these
interesting you mentioned Trump. So I see a guy in Trump who's 2 years younger than Biden, but looks about 20 years younger than Biden, and still has.
Well, I'm sure if you got,
Well, he does.
yeah, Biden makes the mistake of not getting airbrushed every day. But look, here's the bottom line. Joe Biden is leaving Donald Trump a very strong economy. Donald Trump promised to bring down, and I quote, the price of bacon, the price of eggs, and the price of apples. I can't wait to watch those promises. And on January 20th, that clock starts. Those are commitments that he made. And he's going to have to live up to them. He's going to have to live up to the fact that he's going to explode the American economy even more than it's gangbusters right now. And you have to admit, the American economy is doing better than any other Western country at the moment.
Okay.
He's going to have to come through on his promises
He will.
to deport
Listen,
people.
he
Wait
will,
a
he
second.
will.
Deport people.
Yeah, I agree.
Wait. Stop. Mass deportation,
Yeah.
tariffs on everybody, and keep the economy going, and
Yep.
bring down the price of goods.
Yep.
I can't wait to see him pull that rat. Listen, I'll be the first to say when he does that, I'll be the
Okay.
first to compliment him.
Well, yeah, that would be great if he actually does manage to pull off his campaign promises. Frankly, I'm a bit skeptical myself. It seems like they're already sort of rolling back or pulling back on this mass deportation campaign that he was promising during the campaign proceedings, during the electoral campaign. The guy he nominated for that, what's his name? Holman, I can't remember, is already saying, well, there's not really going to be mass deportations. We're just going to deport all the criminals. Well, that's already one campaign promise broken. They're already trying to set Trump supporters up for disappointment. Now, if they had any real balls, they would do it. And if they actually did that, yeah, they would piss off a lot of people. But how many more people would they get on their side? They would get so many more people on their side. It would be incredible. If the so-called conservatives and so-called Republicans actually did something that really helped America and not just the GDP of America, which is all that people like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy think of, and all establishment politicians, frankly, but did something that helped America overall by helping the American people, which means, mass deportations, get rid of all the illegals, stop all incoming migration at the southern border, just basically stop all immigration, sort out everything in the immigration system, and then perhaps restart it on a very limited scale for very limited types of people. Wow. Can you imagine the support that virtually all the American people would give to those kinds of policies, or to give to somebody who actually managed to implement those kinds of policies? It would be like a tidal wave. I am pretty dubious myself. Trump is very good at making promises. That is absolutely true. He's very good at making them and not following through. Sometimes, and of course, sometimes he tries to follow through, but he's hamstrung and completely blocked. He shouldn't have that excuse this time, but we'll see. We will see. We will see. And can he bring down the prices of bacon and eggs? I have no idea. We'll see about that too. But if I were in his place, I would do all the hard stuff first thing. Just steamroller that stuff in. And yeah, we will see. Let me know what you think in the comments. We're living in interesting times. Let's put it that way. I think we can all see that. The American empire is clearly in decline, but it doesn't mean it has to just go to dust. It could stop being the global empire and just be a big, powerful country that looks after its own people. It could be that, but I have a feeling that the real people in charge, the ones above the politicians, I have a feeling that they're not going to let things go that easily. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.